My name is Susie Harvey. I am the camp manager at Camp Victor Ministries. They've always said that Camille was the worst storm, and that people's expectation was that there would not be another storm that bad. It was the tradition at the church. Everybody stayed at the church because the building made it through Camille no problem, so everybody felt that it was safe and that was a good place to be. So myself and 30 other people stayed at the church, the night of Hurricane Katrina. So I tell people I started really the day before. You get the preparations and knowing that you're going to be housing people and having the water and the gas for the generators and that kind of thing. We did lose a section of the roof at Chris's Victor. We lost about a 40-foot section of flat roof. Other than losing a section of the roof, the church did really well. And when we woke up the next day looking around Ocean Springs, the church is on Highway 90. Things looked fairly normal for after a storm. Nothing looked really major. We thought, after a couple months of cleanup, everything's going to be good and back to normal. But it was throughout the rest of that day and the next that we slowly began to realize how bad things were and how bad it was going to be. The police would come by and give us updates because I knew that we had people at the church. So we were with the police officer when he got the radio call that the Biloxi Bridge he said, the Biloxi Bridge is gone. And I said, oh, it's damaged, you can't drive out. And they're like, no, it's gone. So we slowly began to realize that this was going to be, a really bad thing. Chris's Victor's always been a place where people in the community go to for help. So I knew people would be coming, that it was just a matter of time when people could get out. So I was trying to send out, say, we need the word out that we need help. And we're also trying to say that the government's telling people not to come. And we're begging people just to ignore that. Because, if you happen to stockpile stuff for the storm, a lot of people lost that because of the flooding. We had stories of neighborhoods where people didn't get out for like 5 days. They were in those neighborhoods without food and water, for days on end because they lost their vehicles and people couldn't get to them and they couldn't get out. Thursday after the storm on Monday, we had asked to become a Red Cross shelter. We were sheltering animals. We had our own distribution center. We had our own medical clinic. In the medical clinic, they were actually seeing people at the church and they were going out into neighborhoods, giving tetanus shots and doing minor first aid because what the hospitals were saying, unless it was life or death, do not come to the hospital because they were so overwhelmed. In November of '05, that's when we started housing up to 250 volunteers a day at the church. And then we held volunteers at Chris's Victor until June of '06. In December of '06, we moved the distribution center into Camp Victor, this building. This was an old garment factory. And then in June, we moved the volunteers over here. So we've been running out of this building since June of '06. On the Mississippi Gulf Coast, there were 70,000 homes destroyed completely and another 78 destroyed to the point that they're uninhabitable. And those are going to be harder to replace. So as time goes on, it's going to be harder and harder situations to get people back in homes than initially. So we're going to see we need a rise in volunteers, not a decrease. And we're looking at anywhere from 10 to 20 years. That's assuming there's not another storm. And the chances of that are not real likely. They said pre-Katrina, they could build about 3,000 homes a year with the construction folks that we had. So if you take that into 145,000 homes, just in itself, and people say, well, just get more construction people on the coast. The problem with that is there's no place for anybody to live. There's no housing. There's still over 60,000 people that can't come back to the coast. The facility is owned by the county, but they've been extremely supportive. Our rent is basically what we've put into the building has paid for our rent. So we knew shortly after the storm that we needed to find a place, and we were lucky enough to find this place. But I would hope that in the future they would look at keeping this building as a place that they can house volunteers or whatever for the county, since we've built it and you have the dorms and the showers and the kitchen facility, that it would be a place, and certainly a place where we could house people after a storm. Because of our location, we can't be a pre-storm shelter, but we certainly could be a post-storm and house both volunteers who are coming to help and victims of a future storm. I think the storm affected everybody on levels we'll never be able to understand or describe. You still have, 13,000 people still living in FEMA trailers, about the size of a shoebox. And the thing they tell you, kids have 20 square feet of space to play, and this going on 3 years. And I think as a community, everybody rallied around each other, but it's still keeping that we do need the help, and that, it's pretty extreme. We desperately need the plumbers and the electricians that can come down and help the unskilled people that want to help. That you could take 1 or 2 people and lead a group of 10 or 12 and get a lot accomplished. I think a lot of people think they can't make a difference by coming here, and we want people to know that you can help, and that it actually will get people in their houses quicker the more volunteers we have on the coast. As time goes out, less and less organizations are here, and there's less and less volunteers, and that's going to make it that much longer for somebody's back in, complete. So come down to the coast, and any way you can help, or if you can't, still send funds because they're desperately needed.